what we did enable through AI, and AI is like the backbone or the cornerstone of what we're doing, is the ability to take super unstructured things and make them identifiable and scalable for revenue teams. So that makes our ICP not so narrow, actually. It's huge, as I mentioned. And we're helping VPs of sales understand how to build a go to market funnel utilizing relationships. So it's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about today because historically it's been too hard to identify. I gave you the example, you and I. We met happenstance. You're not in my CRM, I'm not in yours, but we can help each other.
Today's guest is Jessica Robertson. She's the Chief Revenue Officer of Orb. Jessica, it's great to have you here today. Please introduce yourself and tell us what Orb does.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really appreciative to be here. I'm Jess. I'm the CRO of Orb, and we are in the relationship technology space. So we are helping companies, specifically go-to-market teams right now, identify who their relationships are and who those people know. We're bringing a lot of traditionally very unstructured data, and we're utilizing the power of AI to surface where you can create real opportunities for your go-to-market team through the relationships you already have. So I love our slogan. It's the your next deal is closer than you think. And we truly live by that and believe in the data that drives.
That's amazing. And I think relationships in sales these days are more important than ever with all of the discussion about how AI is going to be integrated into every workflow there is. There's now talk about AI replacing SDRs, replacing sales reps.
Yeah.
And sure, like it might happen for some organizations, but I think personally that there's just this interconnection between humans that we just can't replicate human to AI. So I think what you're doing, focusing on relationships, is super timely right now. And it's also very refreshing.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder when you're thinking of like customers and go to market, who are you reaching out to? Like, who is your customer base right now? And how are you educating this group on Orb?
Yeah. So we're super lucky. We have a huge total addressable market. The thing is with relationships and the way that we look at them and try to scale them is we can't build one for you. We actually don't use LinkedIn first degree connections as a proxy for relationships. I don't know about you, but I know almost none of my connections personally. So we did a study when I first started at Intel, now Orb. A long time ago, we looked at my connections on LinkedIn, and I knew less than 2% in a way that I would have given a professional recommendation to these people. So the way Orb works is we're trying to understand the reality of the entire organization's relationships. I told you before this started, right? We didn't invent relationships. I wish we could take credit for that, but a little bit predating Orb's existence. But what we did enable through AI, and AI is like the backbone or the cornerstone of what we're doing, is the ability to take super unstructured things and make them identifiable and scalable for revenue teams. So that makes our ICP not so narrow, actually. It's huge, as I mentioned. And we're helping VPs of sales understand how to build a go to market funnel utilizing relationships. So it's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about today because historically it's been too hard to identify. I gave you the example, you and I. We met happenstance. You're not in my CRM, I'm not in yours, but we can help each other, right? Like we can help each other go to market. If there's somebody that you know that could help me, I'm sure you'd be willing to give me that intro and vice versa because we have a relationship. But our relationship's super unstructured. I didn't find you on a cold call. I didn't find you at a trade show, this sort of thing. So these are the type of things that we're utilizing today's technology to change for revenue leaders. So we typically work with companies that are at least 50 employees or 50 customers, somewhere in that range, because that's really where you start feeling the ability to scale these relationships and use them as a funnel on their own. Super long-winded answer for a pretty short question, but needed some context there.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I'm wondering, what does this look like in the real world? Like, what is the application? Let's say, like, you bring on a new customer. How are you deploying this for them?
Yeah, it's funny because the Integration time is actually super low because we connect to org-wide email and calendar and org-wide CRM. So those are our two first-party data sources. And our ability to do that super easy. But I think post that, it's all about orchestration. And this is what Orb is really focused on right now is, it's not the old days where you get a lead from Zoom Info, by the way. I'm not hating on any of these tools. I still use them all, but it's just not the workflow that we can use where the cold lead comes from Zoom Info. You put it in a cadence. Reps are used to working in cadence style. Let me send that next email up. The alarm ring, it's time to make a phone call. These strategies are a little bit different in how you orchestrate them. It's going through somebody. So we spend a lot of time educating our customers and our partners on best practices, how you set up good referral programs, warm intro asks, how to do so knowledgeably. So we call it burning the ass. So you don't burn the ass. So you can actually bring your customers into your go-to-market strategy. So most of our time during onboarding is spent building the actual mechanism or orchestrating the structure in which you'll go to market utilizing our information.
Wow, very cool. I presume you're using your tool internally as well.
Yes, most people like to say you eat your own dog food, but I like to
Yes.
say we drink our own champagne. It's this is what we're doing. We actually have all of the funnels. I don't believe sales teams can be healthy today with just one funnel. I mean, our funnel is definitely our biggest funnel. Like we focus on this. We're utilizing our own tool, but we also do lots of in-person events. You need to constantly be building your network, especially as salespeople, right? Investing in people, investing the time that you spend and what you have to offer, and just creating a network that can help you in any job you're in, right? So I think that there's as much personal branding in our go-to-market strategy for each and every one of our employees as there is for, traditional funnels, cold calling. We do all the same things that every company does. I don't think that we can make all of these things better without doing them ourselves and learning how to integrate what we do into each one of those traditional funnels.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's funny too, like events kind of died down during COVID because they had to.
Hmm.
I feel like now in the last like 6 months, there's been a huge resurgence on events. I know people were going to them the last few years, but the more people I talk to, the more I hear we're doubling down on events. We're planning out our event strategy. We're going to be sponsors and we have booths at all these places. Have you found any one event in particular that you like really like or you think is a great fit for Orb or anybody that's kind of in a similar space?
Yeah, listen, I think, as you said, there's a reason why people are going back to in-person events. They're craving this type of communication um, and interaction because we've been away from it for a few minutes now, given COVID. Listen, we've gone to, I think, 15 or 16 trade shows this year. All of them are good for us. Like we love to meet and talk with sales leaders. We have a series of dinners coming up in New York, Dallas, Austin, Chicago, San Francisco. So we ourselves are running an in-person play, and our thought and our brain power behind this goes in how do we provide the connective tissue for people at these sorts of events? How do we help them understand who they want to know, who they already have access to? So instead of it being a reach exercise, it's an access exercise, right? So this is, I think, why people are headed in that direction. I've had a couple of favorite shows this year. I really enjoyed SaaStr. That was an amazing show for us, connecting with other AI leaders and really people who are focused on how to revolutionize their core focus of their business, utilizing, new technologies. We recently did Shop Talk in pretty much every location that they have. So we are interested in always looking for the places that we can be where other revenue leaders are. And this is almost everywhere when it comes to in-person events. So we're lucky in that it's a big fit for us.
I'm wondering, going back to what you said about the funnels and everything you're doing there, it sounds like you have an outbound motion. You, of course, have events. You're using your own technology. Are you doing anything inbound related, like running ads on LinkedIn or Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a branding play on LinkedIn, and of course, we are investing in that there as well. We are doing a little bit on the paid side of Google as well, but I will tell you, we're in a white space market. So I read an article a couple of days ago, and it's like if you're living on inbound, you don't actually know your customer because you're meeting them post the buying decision, right? People are getting further along in the buying process sans a salesperson these days. You know about them later than ever. They're able to do a lot more research. They're able to compare you to your competitors. They're able to get really, really far in the buying process, whereas historically, they kind of showed up, they did demos first. Now all of those are available online. They're looking for value up front. So we are still heavily focused on getting to our customer first. We're in a white space. We need to provide a lot of education. This is not a channel that most people have implemented. We're not in a lot of competitive type of environments right now. We're really starting to introduce our clients, and through that finding a lot of product market fit, seeing that it's relevant for almost everybody that we talk to. It's just a budget and timing question at that point, right? So we are still mainly focused on traditional, and I don't want to say traditional, that's a bad word in some ways, but what you would think of theoretically in outbound and getting to our customers before they find us. Now, as every revenue leader would love, we're waiting for the day that inbound ticks up and that there's a lot more usability there, but I just don't think the volume is there at the moment in our industry from an inbound perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, what you said about the article and how, like, if people come to you through inbound, you're not knowing them. I think that's a very, very well said. As you're fueling the outbound engine, what are some of the tools that you're using? And I'm asking because I think 5 years ago, the tool set was like Zoom Info and like
Yeah.
Sales Loft. And I think those are still powerful tools, but I think a lot has shifted more towards like Clay and Instantly and Smart Lead and maybe some other ones as well. So I'm curious to know like what have you built your stack around, and what else are you like anything else you're doing from a data perspective?
Yeah, I mean, the good news for us is being a power user of our tool knocks a lot of other things kind of away from the hierarchy of need, if you will. We actually still do use ZoomInfo. We have an absolute madman SDR that actually came from ZoomInfo and has a workflow that we've kind of built around his tech stack and needs and how he most efficiently goes to market. But I've seen some really cool things out there. Full Enrich is an interesting tool from an enrichment standpoint for waterfall enrichments. Of course, we use Clay. I think in that world, information has completely become a commodity, right? It's just none of these enrichment services are better than about 70%. And I know even at my previous job, we were double, sometimes triple enriching things to make sure that we had the right information because that's how critical it is. But then in the downside, I see because traditional outbound cold calling in mass, 150 dials a day, thousands of emails is going, like, why do it? Because the efficacy is just so low right now. I think outreach and sales loft are really going to start to struggle because people are like the cadence style of working just isn't working anymore. I mean, we have outreach today. We just don't utilize it like we should because the efficacy is not there. Like if you could still get a 25% reply rate on anything or even open rate on anything, it would be amazing these days, but it's just not happening. So I think those tools, I don't know, it's a hot take kind of, but I think you'll start to see those tools merge with more marketing automation tools because that's kind of what they are in some ways now because it's not sales led, it's all automated, it's all AI driven. I did just recently sign up for Dripify, which I think is a good tool. I've been testing that out. So I'm kind of all over the place. I'm testing as many tools as possible. I think we're using Titanx on the phone number side to get enriched phone numbers so that we don't spend as much time dialing numbers that we'll never pick up. So we're all over the place. We're typical sales tech. We're testing everything, not necessarily sticking with everything, but definitely testing everything You know how go to market is. It's a science. You have to test, you have to fail, you have to figure out and move forward. So I would say we started with a pretty traditional stack, but slowly kind of moving in and out of some new tools. But I don't think it's rocket science. Listen, you still need to get your customers' information. By which way, it doesn't really matter these days. They're pretty much all the same. You have some companies that focus more on mobile, some companies that focus more on Europe, some companies that focus more on, email accuracy. So you kind of have to choose whatever method is good for you there. And then when it comes to bottom of funnel, I think it's all about intelligence, right? Like once the call happens, what do you do? How are you orchestrating the sale? What are the things that you need to do? Writing follow-up emails that are super personalized, no more templated stuff, dealing with people's problems. I hate the word consultative selling, but really identifying the problems that your customer is facing and how you solve them independently to them, right? Not how do you solve them for everybody? How do you solve it for this particular team? So, I mean, of course, we have LLMs in our company. We're utilizing that for putting a lot of our unique information into call recordings, branding information, this sort of thing to help us learn, create FAQs, create sales materials. Leaning heavily into the agentic future, I think, is coming soon. So again, all over the place. You have to be super quick and make decisions, but I still don't think it's rocket science. It's pretty easy to find a really good tech stack these days.
Yeah, it seems like there's just every day I'm hearing about a new tool. Like you mentioned a few there that I haven't heard of, so I'm gonna have to go check them out. And that's awesome that you're using Zoom Info. One of the most powerful features that I've found with them is the intent data. Is that something that you're leveraging? I know Clay has intent data and you can build signals or custom signals. Is that something you've taken advantage of?
We actually use most of the intent stuff from our own tool. The reality is for intent in our world, it's mostly driven around people and relation. When you're new, it's people and relationships. So fortunately, most of what we do through Zoom Info is just textbook enrichment, like information data. So I do think it's a good tool on the intent side of things. I have used it in the past, but not as much at this time are we using it.
Got it. Can we dig a little deeper on the intent within Orb? I
Sure.
know we've talked a bit about Orb, but I'm at a point right now where I'm super fascinated by intent data and testing it. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to know how you're collecting intent information, how you're measuring it, and then what you're doing with that specifically.
So the first problem that I would throw out there is intent data can mean a million things, right? And the issue that I've seen with a lot of intent data for a lot of companies is that there is too much of it. So some random company views your website. You don't have contact data. You don't know who they are or why they came or what drove them there. So what you get, and I call it, somebody gave me a good example the other day when car alarms first came out, right? Everybody looked to be like, who's robbing or who's trying to steal that car? Like everybody drew their attention to the car alarm because it was new and it was like the best thing. And it was like we hadn't tuned it out yet. And now when a car alarm goes off, you may not even look, right? Like you're just walking through the parking lot and assuming that somebody hit the wrong button or somebody had a fender bender. You're not thinking automatically like illicit intent or something like this. Like it's just not what happens. So this is the way that I see 90% of intent data now is AEs and SDRs are not even looking at it anymore because they've had too many foul balls, if you will, too many outsides, too many non-ICP, not actually interested, the wrong contact, intent data. So this is where Orb flips all of that on its head. We based almost all of our intent data on people, actual people. And the first level would be if you're going to expand into somebody's network and understand who do they know? This is the first question we ask. We're identifying their employees, investors, advisors, meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships could be anything. They could be friends, they could be vendors, they could be colleagues in an adjacent company, etc. And then we're trying to, and most importantly, I can't forget this, most importantly, they're champions. And the biggest issue that most people have with their champions is, hey, can you provide me a list of your champions? They go into the CRM, they pull the opportunity level data, they pull the one primary contact associated with that opportunity data, and now you have one champion, one account. This is a total mismatch, right? Nobody gets to sell to one person anymore. So we are actually flipping that as well on its head, and we're going to tell you who your champions are based on who you meet with, who you interact with. We're going to match that with your CRM data, and we're going to tell you for these paying customers, these 6 people are your champions. So that automatically scales the who you know network, right? Because you know the people, you met with somebody 20 times, you know them. You for sure know them. Somebody in your company knows them. So that's the first level, is mapping everybody that you know. Once we have that mapped, by the way, huge gap in the market, incredible gap in the market for companies just being able to understand who they know. And it can be used for a million things, but we use it for one, champion tracking, like making sure that you understand where all the people you know are, where they're working, how close they are to your ICP, pulling actual data for you. If you have a customer that moves from one existing company or one existing active customer to a prospect account and you've met with them 20 times, you are so much more likely to get into that account because the person's educated, they trust you, they know your company, they're familiar. So that's kind of the first level. The second is, once we've identified all these people that you know, who do they know? So this is where outbound gets kind of funny, is like you create your own intent, right? Like this is outbound. You create the need, you help them see the value, you bring the horse to the water, you don't bring the water to the horse. And I think that this is not so much intent data, but access data. This is where the first part was intent data. Now we're moving into access data. If I want to get to you, what's my best path? Do I know somebody that knows you? How can I get past the 97 cold calls I need to make before you might pick up your phone? And by the way, in September, you won't even pick up your phone anymore once the new iOS comes out. So these are the type of questions that Orb is constantly putting and developing on, is how do we give people quality data, really quality data, people you actually know, champions you want to track, and how do we surface for them the reality of their actual relationships? What can they do with them? So I think it's two-part question, but I think intent data has more than ever, it's out there, it's accessible, but we also need to be realistic about what it's actually telling us and what are we going to do with that information. I've personally found that website visits are not that awesome from a scale perspective and from a quality perspective.
Yeah, that's very well said. Again, I think to your point, it's great to know that someone's like in market or showing intent, but like how are you going to action that information? How are you going to try to engage this person is the big question. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. They're like, great, I know all these people are interested, or I know these people have been to our website and they like downloaded stuff or they scrolled all the way to the bottom of the page. But what are we going to do? How do we know how to engage them and get them on a call with us? That's still the missing piece.
It's still access, right? Like all of these traditional funnels are about reach. They're not about access. They're about how many people can we reach. And listen, we need all these things. Again, I opened the call with, I'm not a one funnel girl. I don't believe in one funnel, but you need the content, you need branding, you need, and I have to shout out to Masha, my old VP of brand. She would love that I just said that out loud because I've always been kind of sales focused, but you need all of this stuff, but then you need access to those people because it's still a cold call. Even if they download your ebook online, it's still a cold call. So yeah, I think you said it perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jess, last question for you.
Sure.
In terms of growth and where you want to be in the next 6 to 12 months, what are some of the things that are top of mind and that you're focused on achieving between now and then?
I think in any startup, and particularly like at the stage that we're in, we are looking for systematic, repeatable growth. What can I 4x next year? It's actually contrary to what a lot of like really early stage startups do. They're looking for any win. right? They're looking for the way to get their revenue so that they can raise their next round, whatever the case may be. My CEO and I have this conversation all the time. Everything that we do from a sales perspective, I need to be able to answer the question, how quickly can I Forex it? When do I expect the results to start? Like, so you have to start with the right foundation, right? I'm not looking for these wins that are unrepeatable, that I have to develop something new on the product side to sell to. I think we did, and I can pat ourselves on the back, we did a lot of work around our ICP. Who do we want to sell to? Who is our product for? Whose problems do we solve? And we stayed narrow. I actually don't need my TAM to grow in order for me to grow. I'm not there. I haven't reached the maximum TAM, and I don't know that I ever will. That's the great thing about selling to sellers. But companies often miss this part. They miss the idea of zooming into their ICP. So everything that I'm focused on now is how do we sell better into that ICP in a very systematic, very repeatable way that I don't see limits on how I can X4X fix them, because I'm going to have to in just a couple years, right? Like, we have very, very, very aggressive growth plans. Totally believe it's doable, and it's all about repetition and scale. So having something that we can kind of build the foundation on top of is the most important thing right now.
Yeah, such an exciting time for any startup. I mean, it's super challenging, but I mean, you're to your point, you're building the foundation that an amazing company is going to be built on top of. And so it's really cool to be there, like, in the early days, being a part of that.
It's my favorite part. Like, it is my fifth time doing it, and it is my favorite part. So totally agree.
Wow. Well, Jessica, it's been amazing having you. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to reach out, learn more about you, learn more about the company, how can they get in touch?
I have the most basic name ever, so it should be easy to spell. I'm on LinkedIn. You can email me at jess@orb.com. I'm pretty available. LinkedIn message, I try to answer most of them, but feel free to email me, call me, book a meeting on my LinkedIn if you want to catch someone on one time. So available to chat for anybody who wants to.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Thanks
You
for
too.
listening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.